Okay, third announcement. I'm going to invite Russ Lacy to come up. Who knows Russ? Yes, a lot of people know Russ. If you had been around Door of Hope in the before time, before COVID, before we started Northeast, which I guess those things are about synonymous, COVID and Northeast. Did we cause COVID? So Russ is everybody's favorite Texan, at least my favorite Texan. Russ has served as a pastor and an elder at Southeast over the years. He's been a great friend to me and encouragement to me. And if you didn't know this, Russ and Gina, who are primarily on staff at Southeast, but there is a portion of their time and energy allotted to serving our community here at Northeast. They handle our books, our receipts, all the financial stuff. It is a monumental blessing that many first, second year churches just don't have someone that they can just trust to handle these things and to take care of us and to make sure we're doing it all with integrity. So first of all, just thank you, Russ. Let's give Russ a hand. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It's also just really fun to have you here with us, greeting people at the top of the stairs. I was having flashbacks. It's beautiful. But Russ is going to give what we hope to do. I think we've been decent. I did one of these in April, if I'm not mistaken. But we try to give a quarterly financial update to let the body know kind of how the church finances are doing. And periodically, we want to have Russ come and do those. And this, I think, is the first time you've gotten to come in person and do it for us. Once. Oh, he did once before.
Pre-COVID.
Like,
no, right after COVID.
Awesome.
No, but
that must have been on Zoom or something. No one knows.
A long time ago.
Well, we're glad you're here now. Here you go.
Thank you, Cam, for that glowing introduction. I was listening to him and remembering, those of you that know me, your eyes are already rolling in your heads. Those that don't, this is not exciting, it's not sexy, and it is prone to eye rolling because it's numbers. So just so you know, if the eyes drop out, we'll collect them in the back, and you can pick it up as you go out. It's a safe zone, and honestly, it's a safe place for me to come and encourage you this morning with information. A lot of times we can be in a situation where it doesn't feel very encouraging what we have to share. But while there are things to discuss that we can do better, there's a lot to celebrate. In 2.5 years for a new church plant that started, and how many services did you get before COVID? 2 services before COVID to begin that journey, and now 2.5 years later to be trying to come out of this and to be in the shape financially that this body is in is nothing short of a miracle of God. And I want to thank him for that, but I also want to thank you guys because it's through you being obedient to God in your stewardship, in your personal stewardship, that this good news can be shared. So thank you guys. Cheryl and I again are happy to be here, excited to be here. Cheryl asked me when we sat down, has anything changed in here? And I'm not sure. It's been so long. And she was going, oh my gosh, yes, it has been so long, but it feels like home. So thank you. Thank you for letting us come and worship with you today. We've got some numbers I'm going to throw up here. I want to remind those of you that have never been here before for this. This is like a 50,000-foot view. It's not very granular. There's a lot that goes under. There's a lot of numbers that make up the granular part of this that we don't go through in this. I want you to know, anytime you have a question, I am more than happy to visit with you about anything on this. There are things that we don't, just tell. There's levels of transparency, but we want to be as transparent as we can be with each other and be a healthy organization and an organization that honors God. So if you have questions that flow out of this, beyond this, you can go to the Southeast website. You can look on the staff page and find me, email me. I'll be glad to get coffee with you, sit down, and help you in any way I can. We are in the process of starting a financial committee from this body that I'll work alongside, and we'll be working together to oversight, to plan, to go forward. I'm trying to remember who, other than Jason, is from here. If I forget. Callie is with us, and we're looking for, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, an elder that's part of that. And so once we do that, we'll be fully formed, and we'll be getting together and discussing these things as well. So with that, this is in thousands, so don't freak out when it says our tithes and offerings were $161. That's not right. It's $161,000 that you have given from now through the end of September. This is for 9 months that we're looking at here. So the first thing I want to do is ask you to give the Lord a hand for providing that. Would you do that? That's a blessing. And if you look at the way that this is set up, it's just in a grid that shows what's actually happened for these 9 months, what we anticipated from a budget perspective, and then what the variance is. Are we better than, or worse off than we expected when we started the year? And so when we started the year, we thought by now we would have brought in $180,000. We actually brought in $161,000. So if you look, that's $19,000 short. That's just a little over 10%. Most churches, and this is where it gets a little weird, it's like, oh, dang, we haven't met budget. But most evangelical churches today for this year, at this point in time, are anywhere from 30 to 60% underneath their expectation of giving. It's been a really strange time in the church universal. It's been a time where people that have been very engaged and very solid in the body life have found themselves distracted and pulling away, some losing a sense of who they are, the moorings of their faith. I mean, it's been a really weird time, but that has not been the reality here, and neither has it been at Southeast. And I think the reason for that, the number one reason, is our number one pillar, which is the cross of Christ, that everything we do flows through the reality of the gospel, and that starts with the transformation that we can all have through Christ. So again, I want to thank the Lord for not quite making it, but I want to encourage you that as we move forward and as you guys move forward, there's going to be more and more ministry needs, more and more that's going to be done, more and more kids, more of everything. And I want to encourage you in your stewardship. We still have needs, okay? Then if you look down at expenses and you look, we basically got 5 areas that we look at. We look at payroll and benefits, at outreach, at ministry expenses. Those would be things like pastoral care, things like children's ministries, all of those things. Facility expense, what basically the mortgage and the lights and everything are for this building. And then operations and shared services. And what that is all the things that we do for the family of churches. There's 2 churches at this point in time. Things like Gina and I, what our cost is, the systems that we have in place, there's cost attached to them for us to be able to do things like giving and things that reporting back to you. So that is shared based on a formula, based on the number of attendees, budget, that type of thing. And so those services get split and shared between this body and the Southeast body as well. And that gets you to total expenses, which brings you down to operating income, and then we'll talk about cash in just a minute. But if you look, payroll and benefits, we're actually behind where we thought we would be at this point in time, and that is, it's a little bit misleading because we anticipated we were going to be moving into 2 staff a little bit quicker than we did. And so Josh Wilder didn't come on until June, is that right? July? Never mind September. This hardly any of this shows Josh on there. So that's why that's a little bit different. That will not hold. We are not that understaffed according to what we budgeted and expected. Outreach is a little bit behind. Again, it's been a weird time for us in just engaging just because of COVID. It's been an odd time for that. Ministry expenses are about where we expected. Facilities about where we expected. Operations and shared services, we've had some costs related to these things that were a little more, but basically in line. So total expenses were actually under what we expected to spend by about $21,000. So in this COVID time, our expenditures are not quite what we expect, again, because we're still not doing some of the things we're doing before COVID, pre-COVID. We expect we will be back to those. So from an operating income perspective, the difference between those receipts and those expenses, for the year, we're only $9,000 short from actual cash brought in versus cash spent. We expected, from a budget perspective, that we would actually be about $11,000 short, and that variance means that we're actually better than budget by $2,000 for the first 9 months of the year. One more time, thank the Lord for that. That is a blessing. That is a blessing. We look at one of the things that we try, one of our benchmarks, one of our cornerstones of good stewardship is cash. What do we have on hand in order to pay our bills, to be good stewards in the community, paying the people that we have to pay for rent and whatever that might be. What our goal is that we would have on hand at any time 2 months worth of operating expenditures, what we expect to spend. Right now, for this body, that would be $40,000. So we want to have a bedrock of $40,000. Anything better than that, we actually have built up a little bit of a surplus. So at this point in time, you guys are very healthy at this point in time. You have $99,000 in the bank where we need 40 to be at that baseline. So again, we have room. We have breathing room as we move forward. As you look at new initiatives, there's money there to move robustly as we move out of COVID. January, at the beginning of the year, we had $108,000. That means, again, if you look, $9,000. We bled off $9,000 of cash in 9 months. But again, this report in COVID is just a blessing from God. So with that, again, I want to encourage you, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Would love to visit with you. Love you guys. We're so excited to be with you here this morning. And with that, who do I give it to, Josh or Cam? All right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Russ. Yeah, well, we're always nervous, especially if you're a first-time visitor. There's something about talking about money that just makes my skin crawl a little bit, but I have to get over that because it's an important part of this church functioning and being able to pay our staff and do all the things that we want to do. But we just want you to hear, if you're a visitor or whatever, money is not the only thing we talk about here. But it is important. And, as Russ was saying, one of the things he didn't get into is that now that we have brought Josh on, and that wasn't really reflected in the budget, there is a little bit of a stress that we're feeling on the elder team as we start to move forward, especially if you get really granular. It's kind of odd to see last month was one of our, was for some reason many thousand lower than what had been given on average over the previous months. We expected the opposite. We expected as we started feeling a bit of a return to normalcy through COVID, that we would see, giving increase, and that was kind of reflected in how we budgeted and stuff. And so, all that to say, we give these updates for you to know where you're at, and we just want you to know that, again, if you're not part of our body, you can actually disregard this. If you're just visiting, please do. But for those who do belong or committed part of any local church, they are the primary ones. You and I are the primary ones responsible for financially supporting the work of that church. And that starts with the leaders. And sometimes, I don't know, people have weird assumptions that because a pastor gets paid by the church, maybe they don't give. It's like everything is gift to me, or I don't know. Hopefully you don't think that about me, but I want you to know that our family gives to this church. We try to give sacrificially and generously first to this community, and then to other local organizations we believe in and missionaries around the world, and think that it's important for you to do those things too. We think the scriptures call us all to do those things. We want to be able to move forward from where we're at. We obviously don't want to start bleeding down into our cash reserve, but we want to be able to hold that line so that we have the flexibility to do things. Hiring Josh was a bit of a stretch for us, but we believe it was the right move and huge for our church to have a sense of plurality and leadership more than it had before. We want to value the community group ministry, we want to value the multiplicity of voices up here, and we want to continue to expand further. And so this is just a call to all of us to continue to evaluate. If you're a committed part of this church, do you give? Do you support? Are you part of the mission going forward? We want to be able to do more things too. I'm stoked about the prospect. Obviously, probably can't pull the trigger too soon, but to bring a female pastor on staff to the team and what complementarity that would bring to how we're able to minister. So we're just projecting the future and invite you in to participate with that. So if you're part of this church, this is just, once again, our quarterly reminder. Here's what's going on. I invite you to contribute. And pray with us. Pray with us and for us. And again, if you have any questions about any of that, you can email Russ, you can email me or any of the elders. We're happy to answer any of your questions, even about philosophy of giving. If you've never thought about that, we can talk about that.